You may think your pedal board is already packed. You can't fit another thing on there, but I'm gonna give you 4 tips today to show you how you can fit more pedals on your pedal board. Tip number 1 is use an angled pedal board. A lot of times people will have pedals on their board, maybe a compressor or an always on light gain overdrive or EQ that they always leave on. If this is the case, why not mount this pedal underneath an angled pedal board along with your power supply, maybe a buffer, some junction boxes. You can fit all of this under the angled pedal board, making sure you leave more room for the pedals you need to hit and dial in during your set up on top. Tip number 2 is use a riser. There are a ton of creative ways you can use risers to give you more space on your pedal board. The main idea here is put the riser probably on the back row of your pedal board, and you can mount the pedals you don't need to hit during your set under the riser along with power, similar to an angled board. Then you put maybe your MIDI pedals that you need to control up on top, and you can quickly access them. Now that they're even higher, the foot switches are going to be easier to hit. You can even go so far as to put a riser on an angled pedal board, although people get pretty heated about this online, whether it's a good idea or not. The only warning I'll give you with a riser is make sure that you can still transport it. Your case will need to be able to fit the riser in there. In the case of the Goodwood Audio Lift, you can adjust the height so it's actually quite low, giving you a little bit less height requirement in your case. But overall, this is something you still need to be aware of. Risers, though, are a great way to add more real estate to your pedal board. Tip number 3 is use the mini version of the pedals on your board. This, of course, will not work for everything, but in the instance of an MXR Dynacomp, this thing sounds incredible, and it is definitely smaller. It is a little bit up for argument, debate, whether or not a mini pedal will save you that much space, but if you're going from side-mounted jacks to a mini pedal with side-mounted jacks, you are absolutely going to save space on your pedal board. Do your best when using this method to line up the jacks with pedals on either side that can get as close as possible. Maybe this jack here slots above another pedal's jack that is lower so they can get even closer together without the jacks hitting. The mini versions of a pedal will work for a lot of overdrives, some compressors, obviously some EQ and boost. Typically in the delay, reverb, wet effect realm, it's harder to come by, but by no means is this something to pass up as being totally futile. You can save space with mini pedals. Tip number 4 is actually one of my favorites. A lot of times people will have a whole bunch of pedals on their pedal board, but when you press them for it, when you ask, when do you actually use that, it's hard to get a straight answer. So instead of having standalone pedals on your board that you rarely touch, I call this the 20%. Get a multi-effects, something like an Eventide H9, the chorus, tremolo, flanger, reverb, delay, all sorts of effects on this sound incredible, and it takes up the spot of one big pedal. So if you can go from 4 pedals that you rarely use and condense it down into this, you will save a ton of space. Even more so if you go with something like an HX Stomp, you can route this one unit in multiple spots on your pedal board because it has an effects loop. So you could go guitar, compressor, then into HX for maybe some rotary sounds or octave, then back out of the HX to your dry section, back into the HX for your modulation and wet effects for maybe some chorus, tremolo, delay, reverb. You can put it in multiple spots on your signal chain, saving you potentially even more space. Let me know what tips you would add to this list or which ones I forgot. I'll see you guys down in the comments.